Hey, Lucas here, the moderator for Trans Neurability. This week's topic, week number 4, is media representation. Since I think more people in the group probably might talk more about trans representation, I'm not going to talk about trans representation. I'm going to talk about autistic representation because I know more about that kind of representation in media than trans representation. And representation. It's 5 syllables. Representation. Like, that's a workout for the tongue. Anyways, not to get distracted. Alright, so in real life, for media representation, like news stories, it's a lot of ableism and inspiration porn. Oh my god, my son, daughter, like niece, nephew, cousin, my relative who has autism can adapt to things. They're so inspiring. Like, literally, that's what I hear every single time. Well, as far as inspiration porn goes, a lot of ableism because they use the high functioning, low functioning dichotomy, and that's when, we're not either coming up missing in the news or dead as part of a quote unquote mercy kill. Because some people in the world think that it's better if we didn't exist, which is a terrible thing to think about another human being. And, for a group of people that is supposed to lack empathy, like, we're the ones that have more empathy than the people trying to oppress us, which is, I love irony, don't you? Anyways, so yes, a lot of inspiration porn, a lot of ableism. Let's see, there's not a lot of a wide range of representation as far as, like, people in the spectrum, which is unfortunate. Like, you probably wouldn't see someone like me, in the news or anything, for any achievements. Like, if I were to, say, publish a book of poetry, like, it probably would just be like, oh my god, this trans autistic person can write, they're high functioning, which, I don't use the term high functioning for myself. I am a functioning autistic person who has Asperger's syndrome. Like, that's me. But yeah. Can you tell how annoyed I am whenever a news story comes along about an autistic person? Because it's the same every time. It's the same every time, and I've been seeing it, like, in the same ways for over 15 years. And when I was younger, I didn't used to say anything, because a lot of the focus always has been and will and is more focused on the parents or the caregivers of someone on the spectrum than the actual person on the spectrum. Like, I didn't say anything because, one, it contributed to the self-shame I felt already, and, I felt like if I said anything, then people would think, oh, you're just not being appreciative of what people have done for you, and, they probably would have ignored my own achievements that I've made and have been able to adapt to mainstream society on my own, which, a part of, my quote-unquote success was, me, too. So, like, I need to tell people that, but whatever. Like, when I used to tell people that I was on the spectrum, people didn't believe that I was autistic because, like, you don't look autistic or things like that. But, anyways, scoop them. As far as, like, media representation goes on, like, in, like, movies and TV shows and stuff, you get kind of the same thing, except in adult form, if that makes sense. A lot of the characters on the spectrum are adults, but in some of the shows, like in The Big Bang Theory or oh jeez, or like Bones, they're kind of portrayed as like really ultra nerdy who may or may not be on the spectrum, but they're kind of stereotyped as like being sort of savant-like or like extremely nerdy, and really super into science and analytical things, which is another thing that occurs often, is that uh, a lot of the people portrayed as being on the spectrum in the media is either a savant, which is not true. There aren't as many savants as people think, FYI. And also the assumption that everyone on the spectrum like is really into math and science, or like into just one particular obsession. Also not true, because I like science. I'm not, particularly fascinated by it. B, I am terrible at math. Absolutely horrendous at math. And as far as the one fixation thing goes, like, again, like, you're leaving out a whole bunch of people by, like, generalizing that that's all we do. Like, I've had hobbies come and go for years, like, in my life. It's a thing that I guess isn't represented enough. But as far as, like, realistic and non-realistic characters on the spectrum, probably the most unrealistic character I've come across personally in TV or a movie or anything like that is the character named Sugar Mata from Glee, who pretty much used her Asperger's syndrome as an excuse to do or say anything that she wants, which erroneous and just really frustrating that that character was written in that way. It doesn't represent the whole of us, like the whole of the community. And this, like, I don't know. It actually made me stop watching Glee because of that. And let's see, some movies that have okay but not terribly great representations, in my opinion. Mozart and the Whale and Adam. They were okay. They could have been better. I know that Mozart and the Whale and Adam were characters based on, like, actual people. So that's kind of a different sort of aspect to it. But they're not the worst representations I've seen. Like, they're okay. I'll have to watch them again to actually, be certain. Let's see. And let's see. Sherlock Holmes, to me, is on the spectrum. Like, I have seen, evidence of it in the Arthur Conan Doyle canon, and definitely BBC Sherlock and Granada Holmes with Jeremy Brett, which I'm starting to get into, and I'm, like, really in love with it. And let's see. George Surratt in Act 1 of Sunday in the Park with George. I'm probably the only person on the planet who thinks, Act 1 George Surratt is on the spectrum, but seriously, like, reading the lyrics and, like, watching him, that just, points out autistic to me, anyways. And let's see, Frankenstein is another one. And recently I've had quite a bit of a rant regarding someone making ableist comments from over a year ago. I don't want to say the name and I don't want to say the circumstance, but it does regard Frankenstein, and that's all I really want to say about that. And like during that sort of ableist sort of slam down, I've had to defend why I think, you know, Frankenstein is on the spectrum from other people on the spectrum, which is kind of interesting. But mostly, I take that from Mary Shelley's interpretation, along with sort of the modern aspects of the National Theater production, which they did try to portray Creature. I should have specified, not Dr. Frankenstein, Creature, as being on the spectrum. But I don't know. The National Theater production is definitely one from an ableist perspective and not, you know, like most interpretations of characters on the spectrum. So it definitely plays into the autistic discourse that I look for. For a lot of the characters I mentioned, like in particular Sherlock Holmes, Act 1, George Seurat, and Frankenstein's Creature, like, to me, it was intuitive familiarization that brought to the conclusion for me that they're on the spectrum, meaning that, like, a feeling, like an instinct feeling within myself that they're just like me, therefore the familiarization. God, this is getting to be almost 12 minutes long. And so to essentially wrap up, media representation. There needs to be more representation from people on the spectrum, about people on the spectrum, that has realistic portrayals of people on the spectrum. Like, we don't see that enough. It's really frustrating that I have to search, like, meticulously for just articles on autistic discourse and literature and just things like that. And yeah, I'm hoping that this generation of, you know, people on the spectrum will be able to, I don't know, move forward with that in one way or another. Like, I know it can happen. I know it will happen. Hopefully I'll find some sort of way to contribute to that. But yeah, yeah, we need to, you know, take that power from the autistics and the neurotypical people and, you know, make it more us. So, yeah, that has been my video on media representation, which turned into a long rant. So, yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, I'll see you next time.